Can I invite Humphry Rolleston to the table, please? Humphry, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. I note you've given me 3 minutes, sir, so I'll move pretty quickly. Could I've sent you all a submission, and could I ask you to just open it to the page where we've prepared a cash budget, and I thought that it was helpful for me to understand your accounts, and I thought it might be useful for you all to observe your reporting in a different way. So if you go to the 5-year cash budget, you'll see that under revenue, these are all your figures, they're not mine. So you're tracking at 740, 771, 800 million across that top line of revenue, both actual and forecast. The only difference I've made to it is that 528 million of rates is fixed for 3 years, because in my view, the council has more than enough cash to run its operations, and it doesn't need to have another rights issue on ratepayers who at the moment are under a lot of pressure. And I wanted to prove to myself, and hopefully to you, that this is possible to achieve. So then if you go to the EBITDA line, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and abnormals, you'll see that you've got a very good business. You're actually producing for nearly $500 million of cash. 245 million of cash. And each year there's the cash figure flowing across. So if you're standing back and just looking at this business, you would say, this is a pretty good business. We've got no problems here. We've got real cash pouring into the outfit. That's without increasing the rates anymore. Your operating expenditure, which is 494 million, is your figure, Mr. Chairman. And of that, crudely, I estimate that about 190 million is personnel costs, and the rest is turning the lights on and fixing the potholes. So that's your figure, not mine. So then, because the council has over the last 20 years elected to get debt loaded up onto its balance sheet, I've shown you what that's actually costing you. And you've got net debt, which I think is through sleight of hand, but you've got real interest of about 80 million to 90 million on your $2 billion of debt. That is a figure that is surprising people when we talk about it. For a small town, $2 billion of debt is starting to get pretty serious money, and debt is debt. Interest rates on debt is nice to have it low, awful to have it high, but that's not the issue. The issue is the debt itself, and how do you get rid of it? So I've set that out for you, and you'll see the interest content there, and you'll see the capital repayment. So after we've repaid, and we've assumed 61 million a year, approximately, and after you've paid your interest bill there, reducing as your debt comes down, your operating cash surplus is 130, 150, 200 million, 220 million. Still a very good business. Nothing wrong with that. Then I've added in your figures below, and I presume the 134 million, Chair, is from the Crown, but we put it in there because they're your figures, and I've described under Note 9 total cash available is that figure there. So so that's the cash that you guys have got before you start capital expenditure. So then you can sort out what you want to. If you want no capital expenditure, you don't have to have it. If you want to bring a third party in, which I would strongly urge you start doing, who's got risk capital themselves, to put in place some of the assets the city needs, do it. Be pragmatic about it. Don't be greedy and want to own everything. There's no need to own everything. We don't care who owns a stadium. We just want to be open and working. So anyway, that is what I wanted to prove to myself and to you guys, is that there's a couple of 100 million a year of cash. Now, you'll see that I have fixed in my summary here the operating expenses at 494 million, your figure for this year, up quite a lot from last year. and you to ask your chief executive to run your business at no greater dollar sum than $494 million. A chief executive worth their salt would find 10% savings in that all day long. I mean, you found 5% with just doing next to nothing in the last month, from what I'm reading. 23 million you found. Like, I mean, sort of, you just found that. It's unbelievable, really. So I am here defending the financial shareholders of the city, the ratepayers, who are saying we are really getting hammered, and we want you to become disciplined in your own behaviour, and not to the city's detriment, but just so that you are efficient and not demand more cash. You are having, your current plan is asking for a rights issue of 28 million. That's what you're asking.
So
You're going to the market for 28 million. And what are you doing with it, Mr. Chairman? Well, if I looked at last year's audited accounts, it cost you $11 million to make coffee.
I'm going to need to bring this to a close at this point because we're well over the 3 minutes.
Sorry,
but thank you for the figures,
right.
and certainly thank you for your comments today as well. And, you know, there are some matters you've raised which may be relevant for this plan. There are certainly some matters that you've raised that we will be taking into account for the long-term plan as we start to consider it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.